The budget was job one for the 30-day session, and it was pretty much the last thing to get hammered out. But New Mexico also has a new trust fund for early childhood education and a controversial red flag law. Here to give their insights and opinions on the legislative session, we have with us former state senator and line regular Dede Feldman is here. Also joining us is a welcome guest, Martha Burke, political psychologist and author of the book Your Voice, Your Vote. Diane Snyder is also here today. She's another line regular and a former state senator. And completing our table is Merritt Allen. She's the owner of Vox Optima Public Relations. Great to have you all here today. Now, Dede, no denying spending is way up. There's no denying this. And along with the revenue, do you see anything that will keep the state, how to put this, from those kind of cuts, those painful cuts we had to endure a few years ago, anything like that on the horizon? Because John Arthur Smith was a little bugged out about how much we're spending here, calling it, we're on a little bit of thin ice here. Did you see that the same way? Any danger flags for you?
No,
okay.
Because we're putting money into reserves. In fact, John Arthur upped the amount of money put into reserves from what the House had recommended. We're creating trust funds left and right rather than creating recurring spending programs, and foremost of which is the Early Childhood Fund. And there may be others. So I don't think that there's a lot of danger. Of course, as much as the Republicans worry about, overspending and the rate of spending and so on, we have to remember that issuing tax cuts also is a recurring hit to the budget. So, on the one hand, if you are saying don't spend so much, then I think that you also have to be saying, don't give away all of our revenue in tax cuts, which is the position we found ourselves in after the big Richardson tax cut.
That's right.
And then the big crash of the stock market in 2008. We had a structural deficit at that point. We are miles from that right now.
That's a good way to set it up. I appreciate that. And Diane, the idea, just staying on the same thing for just a quick sec before we get to some individual bills, that effort to pay for capital projects with one-time dollars versus having borrowing all the time. Back in your time, of course, we were borrowing like crazy, it seemed. Your sense of that, are we on the right track on that?
Yes, when you have such a surplus, then you need to pay for the urgent needs of infrastructure. One of the things that's always been, and I always thought was foolish, but it was routine, is that someone would ask to build a road and it was going to cost, or a building, let's say, and it was going to cost $2 million. They would give them $50,000. And I'm going, you can't even do a design for $50,000. And so it didn't make any sense to me. So one of the things that I tried to do, and I got told by APS I couldn't do it, but I did anyway, is I went ahead and funded totally the baseball renovation at Sandia High School. And I said, what do you need? And so we did it. And I like the idea that we look around and we say, our bridges need to be done. A little concerned about the cuts in infrastructure from 250, I think, to 185, something like that, because our infrastructure is in such bad shape. And bridges and the dams, nobody's talking about the dams, except last night in the middle of the night or late night, there was some discussion about dams, and Story Lake was one of the subjects that came up. That dam is in terrible shape, and we can't afford not to. I mean, that would wipe out the whole area if we didn't do something. So yes, I'm very pleased that they went to looking at the full cost while we have the money, because if you wait and just parse it out a little bit at a time, you're going to end up with a bust cycle.
Interesting points there.
Isn't that also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if they do enough of these little partial things, you end up with all these little pockets of money that can't do anything, but yet the money is encumbered.
It's encumbered and it just sits there, and nothing happens to it. And
it just sits there until the next bust, at which time it is swept on back into the general fund.
We take it back.
Speak from experience, I see. Let's get into a couple of bills here real quick. Certainly some things that passed. No small controversy for the red flag law, S. Senate Bill 5. A lot of heartburn out there, no small amount of heartburn about the way it was debated as opposed to what the bill was all about. Your sense of that?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about some of the things that were said during the debate that were pretty ridiculous. The bill was debated on that the police might get hurt if they enforce the orders, and it made it sound like it was going to be up to the individual law enforcement officer whether to confiscate a gun, which certainly was not true.
Right.
You have to go to the court, and then it's 48 hours, or they have 48 hours to turn in the gun. But one of the more ridiculous things that I thought happened was some of the opponents put a woman up there who talked about how comforted she felt with a gun because of fear of domestic violence. Well, gun violence is one of the major causes of death to women from domestic violence. And 52 women per day
Wow.
are killed by their abusers with a gun. Over 1 million women now say they have either been threatened or shot at but not killed by a domestic abuser with
that a
a
recent
gun.
study?
Yes,
Recent numbers?
it comes from Bloomberg's Moms Demand Action. It's on the web as we speak. So yes, they're very up to date.
Why did they put the
statistics.
48 hours? That seems like, particularly in domestic violence,
They-
is that
they
not
just-
be too long?
Exactly. They could shoot you in 48 hours.
You
well,
could be dead within
you know,
that time
you
frame,
so and so, you caused me to lose my gun, pop. And I thought 48 hours? No. What about like 10 hours or 24
Something.
even?
You know, I like the process of getting some
court of it,
approval,
yes.
the court involved, but and I'm not a big supporter of the bill, but I like the concept of what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, there was
But-
one other thing in there that I thought in enforcement was wrongly worded, or perhaps it could have been wrongly reported by the press. But it was family member, employer, or there was a third.
School
I mean,
principal.
administrator.
yeah, I mean, it was
You
no
felt something was
relative
going on.
employer or school principal, and I said relative is too narrow because there are too many people who are cohabiting that are not formally relatives. So I thought household member would have been much better
Interesting
for
points there.
that.
Touch on that if you would, SB5. I got some other stuff for you too.
Yeah, I really saw that, and one other action, trying to keep on top of all things, but I really saw Senate Bill 5 as talking to Albuquerque. Because 2018, I mean, the legislature had a blue tsunami. And it happened in Albuquerque where traditional R seats flipped. And the number one issue, I think, for any citizen in Albuquerque is crime. And this, it looks like the Sheriff's Association is going to file an injunction to prevent its implementation. And the rural areas are much more concerned about this than the urban area. And I think as an Albuquerque Republican, your stance makes sense. I disagree. But I think it was very much a way to try and keep those districts blue. Similarly, and also with the fast tracking, I mean, come on, y'all, it's politics. The majority party is going to try and ram stuff through fast. The minority party is going to try and stall it. Doesn't matter. That's politics.
Yeah.
And where we see that happening, I think, was the Social Security tax. Because that's something that is a good idea and would help impact the lives a lot of our most vulnerable citizens. And Merritt's theory, again, it was tabled because Senator Jim White is a Republican, and the caucus does not want him to get that credit in an election year.
Interesting point.
It'll be reintroduced in 2021 by a Democrat, guarantee you.
All right, I'm going to hold you on that one. Any thoughts on
I knew
SB5
that.
real quick from you, Dee Dee, as well?
This is the crime bill?
Yeah.
I
Red flag, and we'll get to
Oh,
bill
the
in a
red
second. Sorry,
flag,
red
yeah.
flag.
I actually did some study
Yeah.
on the campaign contributions that came from Everytown for Gun Safety, Bloomberg's group, and the NRA. I mean, it's really a reversal. And of course, last year we passed background tests, and this is a red flag, albeit it's a little bit different because it's a little bit moderated, different standard for due process. Preponderance of evidence, not probable cause. But what we found out is that NRA and Everytown have reversed positions in the past 2 years here in New Mexico. working with New Mexico Ethics Watch, we traced the campaign contributions and expenditures of lobbyists for both groups. And we found that Everytown for Gun Safety, in conjunction with Moms
Demand action. Moms
Demand Action for Gun Sense, provided the ground forces. Everytown provided $455,500, $500,000 in campaign contributions. The NRA, in a total reversal, seeing the handwriting on the wall, dropped their contribution levels down to $71,000.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And
What a
instead
difference.
worked with the county sheriffs
I see.
and the rural county sheriffs with talking points, with support, with help, and that's their tactic now. Seeing that that the legislature was captured by this blue wave, which was created also by Everytown and Moms for Direct Action.
Let me swing to another topic. I'll start with you, Martha, on this one. Interestingly, the early childhood funding model made it through. Interesting little creative process here. It's going to be an endowment versus how we usually do these things. Very, very kind of a clever way to attack this. What was your sense of it?
Well, I didn't agree. I agreed with Senator Ortiz-Pino that they shouldn't have done it as a trust fund, then why not go ahead and spend some money now? So I don't know that I thought it was that creative, but it may have been, because you all who have been in the legislature can tell me if it wouldn't have passed at all had they said we're going to do all of this immediately, because it would have cost $300 million instead of the 30 that is their target for
That's
the
right.
first couple of years. But I was very glad to see it in the end, because we know that early childhood makes a difference down the road in kids getting a full education, crime prevention even.
Right.
The stats on Head Start are terrific in terms of what it does for kids, particularly underprivileged, under-income kids. They need it. We need it as a country, so it's a start. And I was glad to see it, but I would have agreed with the senator. I think I would have done a little protest vote there, just to sort of push things along.
Interesting. Senator Snyder, I'm interested in your thoughts on this one, too.
I'm a big believer in trust funds that are for specific reasons.
Okay.
Because then there's less flexibility in changing. Like if it's coming, mild example, coming out of the general fund, then it can be changed at any time by anybody. It also, to me, eliminated that immediate reaction to taking money from the Education Trust Fund. It gave conservatives an opportunity, and many of them want to do something for early childhood, but are so opposed to rating the trust fund, this is a legitimate way to do it. And they couched it in terms, or crafted it in terms of each $30 million per year, I believe was the number. And so you can keep putting into it. And eventually, just like the regular education trust fund, it will be creating more money.
That's right.
To go than rating the trust fund.
Yeah, interesting stuff. I want to get a thought from each of you real quick on another one that was passed somewhat creatively. Senate Bill 72, the pension overhaul. Interesting that, we've been so stuck on this for so long. And we finally got somewhere with this. I'm interested in your thoughts on that.
Well, and I think feeding off of your comments, what struck me about a lot of the tone of this session is while it was Democrat-driven, it was trying to speak to the business community, to a business owner, to moderate Republicans.
Gotcha.
When I saw the governor's budget and I was reading it, I saw early chart. I'm like, oh, that old thing again. And I saw a trust fund. I was like, that looks cool. And same thing. Oh, para, it's a crisis. People are crooked. The board's a mess. Wow, y'all fixed it. That's awesome. And so, again, I give it a total win. It was very much a win this session, and something that I think everybody will try and take credit for.
That's a good point. I'm interested in your thought on that.
I
too.
think it was a big success too, and I think we shouldn't underestimate the pressure that many of the legislators and the senators came under from retirees, because retirees can get unhinged when you mess around with their pension and, in this case, their cost of living increase. So there was a lot of opposition and a lot of heated hearings up there on this bill, but all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed by that task force that worked throughout the interim and got it, and got it going. So I think it's a real big plus.
Yeah. Martha Burke, how did you see this one?
Well, I thought it was interesting what Mo Maesta said in the end. He said, well, this is based on the fact that the sky is falling and the government's going to go bankrupt, and the government isn't going to go bankrupt. He was a little off the mark there, because we weren't talking about the government going bankrupt. We were talking about that particular fund. And while it's not on a hell to roller coaster bankruptcy, it was going down and it needed to be fixed.
We were right on the edge, weren't we? We had to
Yes,
get there.
we were.
We had to do something.
We had to do something because we've ignored it for too long.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody talked about it, and putting this group that was together, I thought they did an excellent job at coming up with everybody's going to hurt a little bit, but everybody's going to benefit long term.
That's right.
And so I was proud to see them do something.
Well,
Clearly something needed
I was proud
to be
too,
done.
but it was the political answer. Everybody gave a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah.
rather than looking at the big structural questions like, what about the retirement age? Should we be
Yeah.
changing the retirement age when we have so many people retiring when they're 42? Maybe
And we
just
have
need
many
Living
people
longer
working when
on top
they're
of that.
72.
Or double dipping.
That's
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
exactly.
double dipping is
Good
one
point,
of the
good
issues. Yeah.
point, yeah.
Once again this week, correspondent Gwyneth Dolan stalked the halls of the Roundhouse to get a feel for how lawmakers think the session went. The big struggle in the last days of the session, money, and how much of it is safe to spend.